You showed up. You actually showed up. You picked the right place. You wore the right shirt. You rehearsed a few things in your head on the drive over. Not too much, just enough. And when she walked in, something shifted. She was better in person. The conversation started moving, and for a second you thought, this is it. This actually feels easy. And then, somewhere between the appetizers and the second drink, something changed. You can't name exactly when. You can't point to the sentence. But by the time you walked her to her car and said, "I'll text you," you already knew. Something went sideways. Something you did or didn't do or couldn't stop yourself from doing. And now it's 2 days later, and the silence on your phone feels like a verdict. Was it something I said? Did I come on too strong? Was I boring? Was I trying too hard? Why does this keep happening? Here's the thing. It's not that you're bad at dating. It's not that you're not enough. It's that nobody ever told you what attraction actually responds to. And so, like most men, you've been doing the thing that feels logical and confident on the outside, but quietly kills the spark on the inside, without even knowing it. You're not failing at this. You're just running a pattern you were never taught to question. And every man who has ever sat in that kind of silence after a promising first date has stood exactly where you're standing right now. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what those 5 patterns are, why they destroy attraction even when your intentions are completely good, and what to do instead so that the next first date doesn't end in silence. It ends in her genuinely looking forward to seeing you again. Let's get into it. Here's what most men believe about first dates. They believe attraction is about impressing her, about showing her what you bring to the table, about being confident, interesting, accomplished, fun, about making your life sound like something worth stepping into. And look, those instincts aren't wrong. Confidence matters. Being interesting matters. But most men take those instincts and they run them through the wrong emotional channel entirely. And that's where everything breaks down. Because here's the real truth. Attraction isn't built in her mind. It's built in her nervous system. And her nervous system is not scanning you for how impressive you are. It's scanning you for how safe you feel. Not safe like boring. Safe like, can I actually relax around this person? Safe like, am I being seen or am I being performed at? Safe like, does this person need me to be impressed by them, or are they actually curious about me? Emotional safety is the soil that attraction grows in. Without it, everything else, the charm, the humor, the good looks, the good job, lands like seeds on concrete. It looks like something's happening, but nothing actually takes root. Most men in dating have been taught to perform, to present the resume of themselves, to fill the silence, to project the highlight reel. But a woman's nervous system is reading you underneath all of that. And what it's looking for is groundedness, presence, genuine curiosity, and emotional honesty. Not louder stories, not a more polished version of your life, not a perfectly timed joke. Just a man who feels real enough to actually be in the room with. When you understand this, The 5 patterns I'm about to walk you through will make complete sense. Because every single one of them is a version of the same thing. A man unconsciously prioritizing impression over connection, and paying for it every single time. Number 1. The resume date. This is the one most couples in early dating never even see coming, because it looks so much like confidence from the inside. Here's the pattern. You're sitting across from her, and you're doing what feels natural. You're telling her about your work, your travels, your goals, your apartment, your gym routine, your last promotion, the time you did that cool thing in that cool place. You're sharing. You're being open. From the inside, it feels like you're giving her a window into your life. But from the outside, from her side of the table, what she's actually experiencing is a pitch. And here's the deeper emotional truth. You're not doing this because you're arrogant. You're doing it because you're nervous. Because somewhere underneath the confident exterior, there's a part of you that believes you have to earn her interest before she'll give it. So your nervous system says, show her the best version. Lead with the wins. Make her see what you're worth. It's a protection strategy, and she can feel it. Here's what's actually happening on her side. She walks in open. She walks in curious. And within the first 20 minutes, she starts to feel like she's sitting in a job interview where she's not the one being interviewed. Her brain is quietly registering, he's performing for me, not connecting with me. And connection, real connection, cannot happen in a performance. You cannot feel genuinely close to someone who is trying to impress you. You can only feel close to someone who is willing to be real with you. The contrast is this. The disconnecting version sounds like, I actually just closed a really big deal last month. It was a while coming, but I put in the work. I've been grinding for about 3 years building this. The connecting version of the same moment sounds like, I'm at this point in my work where I'm proud of what I've built, but honestly, I'm still figuring out what I actually want it to mean. One is a highlight. The other is a human. She doesn't need to be impressed by your life. She needs to feel like there's a real person behind it. When you stop selling and start sharing, actually sharing, the unpolished version, the walls come down on her side before you even realize they were there. Number 2, living in the future on a date that's happening right now. Here's the part no one talks about. One of the fastest ways to kill the present moment, which is the only place attraction actually exists, is to spend the date auditioning her for a role in your future. And most men do this without realizing it. The pattern looks like this. You like her. Things are going well. And so your brain, wanting to hold on to the feeling, starts projecting forward. You'd love this restaurant in Barcelona. We should go. I feel like you'd get along with my friends. What do you think about long distance, hypothetically? I could see us doing this every weekend. It feels like enthusiasm. It feels like interest. But what she's actually experiencing is pressure. The pressure of being evaluated for a future she hasn't agreed to yet, with a person she's still deciding how she feels about. Here's the deeper truth. Future casting on a first date is almost always anxiety in disguise. When the present moment feels uncertain, which it always does on a first date, the nervous system tries to fast forward to safety. If I can just lock this down, if I can just establish that this is going somewhere, the anxiety quiets. But you can't build real attraction in the future tense. Attraction lives in the present, in this moment, in this exchange, in what's actually happening right now between two people who are still becoming real to each other. The contrast is this. Future casting sounds like, "I feel like you'd love my family. We do this thing every Christmas, you'd fit right in." Presence sounds like, "I'm genuinely enjoying tonight. I don't know what this is yet, and I don't need to. This conversation is enough." One puts her in a role, the other invites her into a moment. And something in her nervous system responds to the second one with something she can't quite name. Relief, maybe. Or the feeling of, "I can just be here. I don't have to decide anything right now." That feeling, that quiet, unhurried ease, is the soil attraction grows in. And when you give her that, she'll start thinking about the future all on her own. Number 3. The interview mode trap. Most men think asking questions makes them a good date. And they're right. Kind of. Curiosity is attractive. Genuine questions are attractive. But there's a version of question asking that feels like homework rather than connection, and most men fall straight into it. The pattern looks like this. Question, answer. Question, answer. Where are you from? What do you do? Do you have siblings? What's your favorite type of food? You're checking boxes. You're gathering data. It feels like you're being interested, and from your side of the table, you are interested. But she's not feeling interest. She's feeling interrogated. Here's what's actually happening beneath the surface. Interview mode is another form of performance anxiety. When you don't know how to respond emotionally to what she shares, the safest thing is another question. It keeps the conversation moving. It keeps you out of vulnerability. But it also keeps you out of connection. Because real connection doesn't happen in the question and answer rhythm. It happens in the moment when one person says something real and the other person responds with something equally real. Not a follow-up question, but an actual reaction. A piece of themselves. Here's the internal monologue she's having across that table. He keeps asking me things, but I don't know anything about how he actually thinks or feels. I feel like I'm being researched, not wanted. The contrast is this. Interview mode sounds like, "That's interesting. So how long did you live there? And what brought you back?" Connecting mode sounds like, "That actually makes a lot of sense to me. I moved around a lot too, and there's this weird thing that happens where you stop knowing where home is. Did you ever feel that?" One extracts information. The other extends a bridge. One keeps you safely behind questions. The other puts something real on the table and invites her to meet you there. When you stop being an interviewer and start being a participant, when you let her answers land and respond from something honest inside you, the conversation stops being a date and starts feeling like two people who somehow already know each other. That's when she leaves the restaurant thinking about you before she's even in her car. Number 4. The outcome addiction. And this is the one most men never figure out, because it's invisible. It's not something you say. It's something she feels. It's the low-level hum of needing the date to go well, the invisible pressure of trying to close, the imperceptible shift in your energy every time you think she might be losing interest. Most men on a first date are not fully present. They're running a background process. Is this working? Does she like me? Should I have said that differently? Is she still interested? And that background process, that invisible outcome addiction, leaks through everything. Here's the psychological truth. When your emotional state on a date is dependent on her approval, you stop being attractive. Not because confidence is some trick you perform, but because a man whose internal state rises and falls based on a woman's reactions is unconsciously communicating need. And need, when it comes from a place of emotional scarcity, doesn't create attraction. It creates pressure. Her nervous system picks it up before her mind can name it. Something in her starts pulling back, not because she doesn't like you, but because she can feel that liking her is becoming your emotional lifeline. And that's a weight she didn't sign up to carry. Here's what changes everything. The most attractive energy on a first date is detached investment. Genuinely wanting to know her, genuinely enjoying the evening, but not needing it to become anything. Being fully present to what is, rather than managing what might be. Not performing ease, actually having it. The contrast is this. Outcome addiction sounds like, I think this went really well, right? Like, I feel like we have a connection. What do you think? Detached presence sounds like, I had a really good time tonight. I don't know what you thought, but I'd like to do this again. One asks her to manage your anxiety. The other states your truth and gives her room to respond without pressure. She doesn't have to take care of you emotionally. And the moment she realizes she doesn't, something in her quietly registers. This one feels different. That feeling is rare, and it stays with her. Number 5. The phone on the table. This one sounds small. It's not. Most men do this without thinking. The phone face down on the table, or face up, or in their hand between messages. And yes, sometimes they're not even checking it. But it's there, visible, available, waiting to be needed. And here's the emotional truth about what that communicates to the person sitting across from you. It communicates that the world outside this table might call you back at any moment. That you are conditionally present. That there is something or someone on that screen who might matter more than what's happening right here. You don't mean that. She knows you don't mean that. But her nervous system doesn't distinguish between meaning and impact. It just registers the signal. He is not fully here. Here's what's actually happening beneath the surface. Presence, true, unhurried, screen-free presence, is one of the rarest and most powerful things a man can offer a woman on a first date. We live in a world that fractures attention into 1,000 directions every hour. Being with someone who actually puts everything down and just looks at you, listens to you, sees you, feels almost startlingly intimate. Her brain registers it before she even has time to think about it. He's actually here. He's actually just here with me. And that feeling, that quiet feeling of being someone's full focus, is what she'll be thinking about when she's lying in bed that night. The contrast is this. Phone on the table energy sounds like, "Sorry, one sec, just need to check this real quick." Full presence sounds like putting the phone in your pocket before you even sit down, looking at her when she talks, and responding to what she actually said, not what you heard while you were half somewhere else. This isn't a communication hack. This is just what an emotionally present man naturally does. And it is so disarmingly rare that when she experiences it, she doesn't want it to end. When you give someone your genuine, undivided presence, when they feel like the most important thing in the room, the walls between you don't just come down. They never go up in the first place. So here's where we land. None of these 5 things are about being someone you're not. None of this is about running a strategy or performing a better version of yourself. What you just heard isn't a checklist. It's an invitation. An invitation to show up on a first date as the version of you that isn't performing, isn't managing, isn't selling, isn't fast-forwarding, and isn't half somewhere else. That version of you, grounded, present, real, genuinely curious, is already more attractive than any strategy you could run. Because here's what she's actually looking for, man. Not the most impressive version of you. The most honest one. The one who isn't afraid to be in the room. The one who makes her feel seen before the entrees even arrive.
That's the man she'll be telling her friends about on the drive home. When you internalize this, you stop trying to make the date go well, and you start being the reason it does. And she will feel that difference before you've finished your first drink. If this hit something real for you, drop a comment. Tell me which one you recognized in yourself. Every man who's ever sat in post-date silence deserves a more honest conversation than the one he got. Subscribe if you want more of that, and I'll see you in the next one. The relationship you want starts the moment you stop trying to be impressive and start being real. Because real is the only thing that actually stays.